Tina, you ready?
Sure am.
Okay. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I guess there's no shortage of bees, huh? Okay. By the way, I apologize. The reason I'm late, I was checking references and somebody had called me back just a few minutes before the meeting started, and I wanted to get through that. And these are references for candidates for Nancy Jones' replacement, so that's why I was delayed. Anyway, so today is Thursday, October 28th, 2021. The time is, on my computer, 11:12, officially calling the meeting to order. Attending Commissioners Brooks and Filios. Commissioner Leslie Duncan's excused, she's out of town. And so, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Yeah, do we want to make a motion to approve the change to the agenda, adding item 3?
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, well, you want me to read the whole thing?
No, just make a motion that we're, yeah, I would just go through that first line.
Okay. I move that we change the agenda by adding an item under number 3, for career progression to personal property appraiser 2 position conversion in the assessor's office.
And I will second that.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, so item 3 as described is added to the agenda. So moving on, or moving back up to item number 1, temporary modification of emergency communications officer. This is a full-time position, KCSO.
Lieutenant Higgins, for the record. Carol Furtado is retiring in November. November 20th is the date of her retirement, but she and Captain Smart and I have been in conversation. We can't lose another body, at least not until we get some more staff in. So she's agreed to a contract that was drafted by Darrin Murphey to work 36 hours, and this is good until October 1st. It basically keeps her on, keeps the staff level at the current levels, and after October 1st, she will officially retire.
Okay. So what happens, will there be overlap if you hire before?
We still have openings, so I don't think there's going to be overlap in
So you're not,
costs.
you're not
fees.
expecting a budgetary issue?
No, I don't expect them.
Bill,
And at any time, I'll note at any time she can decide that she's done and can retire at any time based on the agreement. So, but right now it's scheduled for October 1st as the cutoff date.
Okay. Obviously of 22.
22. Yeah.
Okay. Bill, any questions?
No.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the temporary modification of the emergency communications officer, FTE, in the KCSO.
I will second that.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye. And the motion is carried, and that's for item number 1. Okay, thank you. Second item, which is a request for a once-a-year budgeted stipend to Judicial Assistance Specialty Court. Who's going to? Kim?
Is Carlene on the line?
Oh, Carlene, are you on?
Well, we can tell you what it is.
Okay, go right ahead.
Every year, specialty court budgets for some additional stipend pay, bonus pay for a couple of their administrative district assistants to the judges. They brought this forward last year when we went to bring in all bonuses budgeted or unbudgeted to the board, and she was just bringing it forward again this year.
Okay.
So it's within budget, the projections attached are budget neutral.
Okay. And this is an annual thing?
Yes, it was agendized last year as well.
Okay. Bill, do you have any questions?
No.
You want to make a motion?
Yep. I move that we approve the request for a once-a-year budgeted stipend to judicial assistance for specialty court.
And I will second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. And it's as described in the email by Carlene Behringer dated Thursday, October 14th. Okay. Third item on the agenda is this is for the assessor, career progression to personal property appraiser 2. This is a position conversion. Allison? Or is it
Yes,
Reba?
Allison Knapp for the record. This was actually originally a downgrade for the person who took this position. She has since become a certified appraiser, so we are now putting her back into that position. It is budget neutral.
And you still have openings, don't you?
Me too.
Bill, any questions?
I just need to take a picture here, I'm sorry. Too good to miss.
You really need to come upstairs.
No questions.
I think it's appropriate while bees are, there's, I guess, a crisis with any bee shortage, but anyway. Okay, motion?
Excuse me, I move we approve the career progression to personal property appraiser 2 position conversion for the assessor's office.
And I will second that.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion's carried. So item number 4, holiday compensation policy.
Chris, I'm on the line.
Oh, Leslie?
Yes, I'm here now.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so Leslie Duncan, Commissioner Duncan has just joined us, and the time is now 11:17. Okay, item number 4, holiday compensation policy number 312, a discussion. Auditor, Dena, are you jumping in on this? Yeah, should be, isn't it? Is it on? You want to take a seat? There you go.
The bees are standing by for us. I think I heard Leslie's on the line.
Yes, Leslie
Okay.
is on the line.
Great, Dena Darrow for the record. So we wanted to talk through some of the concerns we had with policy 312, which was ratified. It's about holiday comp. It's a change from our previous policy, and it has some certain payroll implications. So Grace, our payroll manager, is here to talk through some of the issues. I had sent out a fact sheet, and it's fairly involved, but Grace will hit the high points, and then Darrin can also comment on his concerns with the policy and maybe make some recommendations to maybe reconsider or adjust. And the sheriff's here as well to clarify our understanding as we talk through it. So it's kind of more of an open discussion, but we wanted to address it because it just changed and there are some payroll implications. So I'm going to hand it off to Grace.
Go ahead, Grace.
Okay, Grace Blomgren, auditors. This last pay period, when we were processing payroll, some of the concerns that we had primarily were holiday time shall be forfeited upon the employee's termination. Part of the benefits package that we offer employees is 88 hours of paid holiday. If these employees bank that holiday time and then it's forfeited when they terminate, it's probably a violation of our benefits package, I would think.
Darrin?
No, it's not. Our policy provides that the commissioners may change benefits at any time. It's discretionary on the part of the board. So that's really, I mean, that's an issue, but legally the board can do that. The old policy didn't allow for banking of holiday time. The new policy does allow for banking of holiday time up to 80 hours, but we do have some previously banked holiday time. And it created a problem because of some representations made to the employees. So the best thing to do at this point, after we've gathered some more facts, is to just allow the sheriff's office to burn that time off, which they're doing. Holiday time's used before vacation time, and it's naturally going to take care of itself. I think the largest bank was 120 hours. Is that right, Marcia? 120 hours. So we're getting those numbers down to 80. We are going to have some old holiday time and some new holiday time. But to mitigate that legal distinction, the sheriff's office is just going to allow an employee who separates from the county to just take that time off at the end of their work time.
The end of the work, okay.
So if November 1st is your last date and you have 40 hours of holiday time that's still on the books because of the practice under the old policy, well, they'll just take that 40 hours off. Another option that was proposed by the auditor is that the board could just pay out all of it, and it's down from 600 to 157,000. So that's another option.
Yeah, the thing with paying it out is, from just the way I see it and the way I understand it, is you have this pool of banked holiday time before the policy change, and then you're gonna have a pool of holiday time after the policy change, and the policies treat that differently.
Okay.
So from an administrative perspective, and I know that a lot of employees have been burning this time down, everybody today makes less than they will tomorrow. And you have like a conflict between these two pools of time. So it might be something to consider to just say, okay, here's this old holiday pool, we're just gonna pay it out and start fresh. And we can calculate what the economic impact of that will be, but from a timing perspective, everybody's wages right now are the lowest they're gonna be. So if you're gonna pay it out, you would wanna pay it out, from a financial perspective, you'd wanna pay it out more quickly. Now, we can recalculate what that economic impact would be and bring that back to you, but that would give us a clean break. It sounds like the sheriff's office is trying to work through that. My other concern is if people are burning down their holiday time and they're precluded from taking their vacation time and their vacation accruals are over the threshold, then they could potentially forfeit vacation time over 240 hours. And we know, especially the sworn staff have been working a lot of overtime hours. They haven't been able to take their holiday time, their vacation time. Then they lose time that they've accrued.
Okay.
And then if we carry that time over, if we make an exception and say, okay, you can carry over your time, now everybody else in the county is saying, well, I'm working overtime, why do I lose my vacation hours? So it could turn into more than what was intended with the policy change. So this is more just to contemplate, what our options are and how the board wants to proceed with doing this. So I'll hand off
Did you
to
wanna-
others who want to comment.
Go ahead,
And then you have juvenile detention, their holiday time is automatically banked every time there's a holiday. They don't have an option, the way they're set up, they can get paid out that pay period, but they bank all the time, so there's no pre-approval happening, it's automatic.
So on that, so how much time do they bank in?
Juvenile detention, they bank every holiday that happens, so they'll bank 88 hours, but they can use it each pay period if they want.
So is there a maximum number of hours that they're allowed to carry?
Not to my understanding.
JT's here.
But-
So they
Yeah.
have an unlimited amount of hours?
No,
Their-
the
their hours
policy
are
is
low.
80
All right,
hours.
let's hear from Sylvia. Go ahead, Sylvia.
So the policy allows for 80 hours of holiday time to be banked. And so when we developed this policy, we had many partners at the table: auditor's office, sheriff's office, juvenile detention, solid waste, HR, and legal. And throughout this whole process, we came up with the policy and said, okay, we're gonna allow this banking. There was never any indication that anything that was on the books prior to August 24th would be paid out. Sure, let's get them to use that time and get those hours below 80. I think that's critical. Give them that time to take off, but there was never any indication of payout. And payout has occurred. And as Darrin had mentioned, our policies indicate that there's no promise of a benefit yesterday would continue today, and there is no legal ramification when you change that policy. I think it's important to point that out because we did have consensus from the partners at the table that worked on this policy for many, many months, since February it was, that we were all good with it. And I think if they can get their hours down and say, within a couple months, that we don't need two separate pools of hours, just make it one pot, they have that 80 hours, let's start using them.
Okay. Did you want to say something, Grace? Darrin?
No, I think that covers it.
Sheriff?
I would just like to add more of a what we're trying to do here with the county, the reason why we have wage studies is so that we pay our employees a competitive wage. And I think that this should also apply to the fringe benefit package. So we shouldn't have this attitude that, hey, we're gonna take this away, or we're gonna do this. We just need to be cognizant that that is as important to attract viable candidates just as much as the salary is. So we need to be cognizant of fringe benefits also. And that's just what I'd like to say. I'll put that out there.
Dan, did you want?
You know, with respect to Dena's comment about there being ostensibly two groups of people, two books, or however you want to say it, there's the pre-312 and the post-312. Our biggest concern is that those people who bank those hours in good faith don't lose it. And, you know, certainly it's, as long as we are allowed to let them take the time off, then that's one way to, to deal with it. The other way is like Dena said, if the commissioners want to cut a check and everybody has a great Christmas this year, we wouldn't object to that either. But
well, I think a lot of employees, in the event that they have a catastrophic event outside of work, would appreciate the having those bank of hours, to be able to sustain themselves and their families. So,
Sure.
What if you had a category pre-2021 and post-2021? I mean, I've seen it that way, where policy has changed and says, okay, well, these are pre-2021 hours, and those are post-2021.
Well, and that's kind of what we were trying to get away from.
Okay.
My understanding was, before they were payable upon separation, and the new policy says they're not payable upon separation or up to a certain point. So there's just confusion with administrating, okay, so which pool of hours are these from? And that's what I was talking about, making a clean break. But the loss of vacation is kind of that other part. It's like, okay, you have to use your holiday, your holiday time first. Now, are you going to forfeit vacation time? Is that going to happen to you?
there is past practice. We have been paying out holiday time upon separation for years in advance of the new policy. And I guess the issue there would be, legitimately, do the folks that bank their time with, prior to the inception of the new policy have a reasonable expectation to be compensated for that time? The easiest way to go about it is just give them the time off. But there is a glitch with it in the sense that the new policy says that they have to, have it used, by
their termination date? Yeah.
When do they have to have it used by, Sylvia? Is it by the first of the year?
In terms of the excess hours,
Yeah.
we should try and get them down. That wasn't clearly defined. My recommendation would be a couple months, 2-3 months, have them get it down. If we did it starting January 1, it seems like, okay, we start fresh with the new calendar year. Get those hours down, and then they're maxed at their 80.
So, they can carry 80, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
so I guess the only exception that I could see here is if the intention is to somehow compensate them, that if by whatever reason we can't get those few people that are above 80 hours time off, that to allow, them to, in the new year, take that off to where so they don't lose their time.
And just for the record, so many of our essential positions, which all of our employees are essential, but many of our public safety positions that we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with candidates and employees on training. We just can't leave them by themselves. So they're not fully trained yet. So on the board, it might look like, oh, well, we're doing okay, but they're not going to be fully functional deputy sheriffs or control room operators for about 6 to 8 months. I have to have somebody else with them. So to be able to take that time off might seem easy if you were looking at a different department, but when it comes to, the public safety portion of it, deputy sheriffs, that's just a little bit different dynamic, which I hope the board, understands. It's not like a employee at the library who is closed for 2 weeks a year and closed for this and closed for that. We're a 24-hour operation. So I know that that is a different dynamic than many of the other departments, except.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
Dena had pulled a report on how many employees have holiday comp hours, and out of the grouping, 24 have hours over the 80. So I think it's pretty manageable to do that. And let's get them, we don't want them to lose that time. Let's get those hours down. I
Okay.
think that's critical. And we just need to then clarify, because payouts have happened since August 24th. There
Okay.
have been 4 employees who were paid out holiday comp hours. It was 274 hours for about $7,400. So we need to make sure that we put it on the record at the board's decision that there is no holiday payout unless you decide
Okay,
that
fair
that
enough.
should stop.
So, okay, so this was marked as a discussion item, so where are we going with this now? Are we going to do additional analysis? Is there clarification? Where are we?
I think if the board could give us some clarification on how you would like us to proceed, is it follow the policy, get those hours down, then it's a done deal.
Leslie, do you have thoughts?
Sorry, it takes me a second to get off mute.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I think that from now until we're able to get this solidified, that anybody who's leaving would, I think like Darrin said, if they have 2 weeks on the books and they want to quit November 1st, then they still get paid through November 15th, if that makes sense. And then find out if we can address those 20-something people and maybe get them down to their 80 hours, to be manageable. And, I think we said this year that we are going to look at certain departments if their 240, vacation hours are because they could not take time off because of staff shortages. So I think we have a few different ways to look at this, but, I'd be interested to see, is that 157,000 correct, or is there more analysis that needs to be done on that payout for those people?
Well,
Dena?
it's Dena. The number's constantly changing, every payroll. And from what I'm hearing from legal too is they're not necessarily going to forfeit their hours at separation. So that simplifies things in this whole, this pool here and that pool there. If the board agrees that if you call it a payout at the date of separation, or if you just keep them on the books for however many days they need to burn through, then that issue kind of solves itself if if that's where the board is going with that. And it sounds like, Sylvia, that's kind of was the thought processes behind. So to me, it would just be to maybe look and see what the accruals are. And like Leslie said, if we have people who can't take time off and they're going to lose vacation time because they're having to burn through holiday time, that we'd be sensitive to that. So we could quantify that as we get closer to the end of the year.
And quite honestly, it might be in our best interest in some cases to pay out that straight time instead of them taking the time off and then paying out time and a half for somebody to fill that
Right.
position.
So basically, you'd need to do the analysis.
We'd need to do the analysis and see what the impact would be as we get closer to the end of the year. And then the board could decide, do we want to pay out some time so it's not accumulating? Do we want to roll that time over? And then, like Leslie said, do we want to look at vacation time lost? And maybe not just in the sheriff's office, but other departments who are understaffed, where people aren't able to take vacation time and they lose that vacation time. I know exceptions have been made in the past for some employees who just seriously could not take time off. So for the board, we can do that analysis as we get closer to the end of the year.
Sylvia, are you okay with that?
Yeah, we just need the direction from the board.
Okay, so the direction is that Dena's going to perform the analysis, which will determine if we decide to do a payout, how much that's going to cost us.
Right.
And I also think we need to include the sheriff's office in
Well,
that
no.
discussion.
And
Go
so
ahead.
what we need to know right now, it's my understanding that if an employee is resigning, like Leslie gave the example, say they're gonna go November 1st, that's too soon. And they put in their 2 weeks' notice. They can use that time as part of their notice or afterwards, but there
Sure.
isn't an official payout of hours.
Right, right.
That ceases, yeah.
Okay, so, well, the sheriff is being included. I think
Right,
you
that's
have
what I'm
all the
saying.
information you need to do the
Right,
analysis.
and we'll work with the sheriff's office and
all
make
right.
sure and.
Just,
and,
it
you know,
seems that
get
we
more-
have an agreement there,
Yeah,
and that's a good thing.
okay.
Fair enough? Everybody okay? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Item number 5, budgeted bonus request for Veteran Services Officer, BOCC. I don't know if we're going to need to go into exec with this one, but thank you, everyone. Bill, do you want to proceed with this? Darrin, we may need your advice here.
Sure, we sat here as we were preparing the budget, and we specifically had the veteran service officer here and talked to him and made what I consider to be assurances. I've gone back and looked at the, what we said, but there would be a $5,000 bonus, because we couldn't really raise him at this point until we had another salary survey. And I don't see what the problem is.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to need to go into exec. I don't think we're evaluating an employee here, but we are discussing wage. We did budget, I think it was it a $5,000 bonus that we
Yes,
budgeted
yes.
for? The individual in question received a 3.4% increase in addition to a $750 bonus, which everybody received. And so effectively, and I didn't actually do the math, it's coming out to about 4.2%. I don't have, my big concern with bonuses is here comes one and get ready because they're lining up right behind him. And I know that we budgeted, but that does not necessarily constitute approval. And so what I'm willing to do is say, okay, look, let's consider the increase that was just given. And so if you take the 2 increases, it comes out to about $2,500. So I'm willing to consider doing another $2,500 to take them up to the $5,000 limit.
Okay. Let's do it.
Leslie, you have thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are probably the least popular in that I have 13 other department heads who have been fantastic and who I would also like to, reward in this manner, but it wasn't budgeted to do that. And so I guess I just get concerned that with disparate treatment and that this person's getting preferential treatment, whereas, even solid waste, their numbers have increased significantly and they're having shortages of hiring people. And so each one of our departments has a unique situation where I think that giving just one department a bonus over the other ones, that still is really hard for me to go along with at this point. I do understand that, he does a great job, and so do the other 13. I, kind of agree with the way Chris is approaching it, if indeed that you guys are going to vote for this. But other than that, I'm just staying consistent. If I don't have enough for all, then I don't, want to do for one.
I would agree completely, had we not had this individual sitting in front of us telling him that we couldn't increase his salary based on what was going on in the marketplace, Spokane and whatnot. We'd have to wait for a salary study, what we would be willing to do this. And we did say that, and we did budget it, and I think that's only fair. If we had other department heads that we had said and made the same representations to, I would feel equally obligated.
Sylvia, do you have thoughts?
No, it's really a board decision. It's budgeted.
Usually are, but that's a.
Yeah.
Dena? Darrin?
So the estoppel type of argument.
Explain what an estoppel is for those of us.
It's a promise that somebody with authority makes that an individual individual relies upon to their detriment. So, in the context of a board of county commissioners, you act as a board. So it has to be a promise as a board. So my preference would be for the board's benefit to provide you something in writing on that issue, so that Dave or I can evaluate the promise and who made it, because there are a lot of little factors that go into it, but from 10,000 feet, that's generally the analysis. And then beyond that, it's a board decision. We do really like to, as Commissioner Duncan pointed out, avoid the disparate impact. But it is discretionary on the part of the board. Do I think there's going to be disparate impact here? No, probably not. Do I think that there's going to be, it sounds like, I haven't reviewed the tape, but it sounds like there was some sort of overtures. Do I think there's going to be an estoppel? Probably not, but that's something that you would want Dave or I to evaluate more specifically after we listen to the tape and get all the facts. So what does that boil down to? Board discretion.
So, are you suggesting that the prudent thing to do is to hold off for now so that you and Dave can evaluate?
Yeah, do I think anything's gonna change? No, but that's the most prudent thing to do.
How much time do you guys need?
A day.
When, a day? When is our next HR meeting?
It's in 2 weeks, so let me get you a date.
Well, let me ask this question. I guess maybe this is from a legal perspective. If the motion is entertained at the $2,500 level, pending a review by you and Dave, that doesn't activate the estoppel, and then the motion is good, and if for any reason you have concerns, we can take it up at the next HR meeting. Is that agreeable?
So if there is estoppel, that is a reason to pay it.
To pay it, I'm sorry, okay.
So, do I think that there's going to be an estoppel type of provable estoppel? No, I don't. So I think this is just board discretion. If there were promises made, Bill feels like there weren't.
Assurances. Nobody said, I promise, but we certainly made assurances.
Then, to me, Chris, this is just board discretion. Dave and I can review it, and it's probably a good idea for us to review it. So just make your motion subject to legal review. And so we're gonna review it for the disparate impact, because it's a good idea. Sylvia and I really like to do that on all of these pay raises. So it's a good practice to have.
Okay.
And then we can also look at this estoppel type of issue. And I think Dave and I would like to provide some separate legal advice so you avoid that situation.
So when just to review, so when I should know this from a real estate perspective, but that's okay. When there's an estoppel in this case, basically an estoppel indicates that there is disparate treatment, is?
Two different issues.
Go ahead.
So the estoppel part is, hey, did the board make an assurance that is such that the employee is in a situation right on it?
Okay.
It would be unfair or inequitable.
Okay.
Do I think it's gonna rise to that level? Probably not.
Okay.
But the best practice is to have HR and legal review all of these pay raises like we do. Look to see if there's some sort of disparate impact. And also, as a side note, we're gonna look at this estoppel issue and the insurance. Dave and I can provide you with some guidance as to how to avoid that.
Okay.
In the future, could we do that before it gets to the Board of Commissioners? Not a good idea?
That's the idea of doing okay. All right, so then basically what we're looking at potentially is a motion, and that motion being contingent upon yours and Dave's review, which I think you said you could do in about a day. Okay.
You want to make the motion?
Okay.
Okay. You made the compromise. I
Yeah.
think it's a worthy compromise.
Okay, fair enough. Leslie, is there anything you want to add?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so with regard to the Veterans Services Officer, I am making a motion to provide for a bonus of $2,500 which essentially represents the difference between the raise and bonus already provided and the apparent assurance that we gave to the individual, and it is subject to a quick review by our legal staff. End of motion.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Nay.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, that's it?
That's it. Public
Okay.
comment.
Is there public comment? Okay, hearing none.
I do.
11:47, meeting adjourned. Thank you.